Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up.
All that jam. A lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands.
Where we break down the jam scene's biggest stories,
Talk new bands.
upcoming tours,
And show reviews. A little laughing, some hot takes, and an always positive message for the community.
Dizgo's Andrew Pickle and Kevin Hinnefeld.
and then we'll see where we end up.
Great.
We're joined by Pickle and Kevin from Dizgo today. We're doing a catch up. We spoke to Jake back in February, and they've had a pretty productive year. How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Feeling great.
Yeah, thanks for having us on here.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So let's start with the studio stuff, and then we'll talk about some of your live adventures over the past 9 months, 10 months or so. In July, you released a single, and in October, you released a single, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And we've got one getting ready to be released next week.
Oh, great.
All right, so let's jump into Honey. What's the story behind that? Who's the writing credit on it? That kind of thing.
I kind of held the vision of it and kind of pulled it together with as far as just the lyrical content and whatnot. But Kev and I had kind of come up with the musical side of things together just at a rehearsal. And it honestly came from just actually one evening I was wanting to kind of play around with one of those little microcorgs that I sometimes have on stage with me, and just found a really cool setting and started playing something, and Kev just kind of wrote a perfect bass line to it. So we knew we wanted to do something with it. And so that was one of the first songs in a long time that we had kind of a real nice, a good musical platform to jump off of, and we kind of actually took some time to think about what we wanted to make a song about. So a lot of times where they just kind of fall into place and they kind of write themselves sometimes, but that one was slightly more premeditated.
Very nice, very nice. Anything you want to add to that, Kevin?
Yeah, I think something kind of significant when we were writing that song. I think Pickle definitely took the lead in writing it and writing the concept of honey with it. And he had just gotten beehives that he was making honey in his backyard. And I think that kind of played somewhat of a role to the theme of that one.
Nice. So what kind of flowers are your bees feeding off of?
Whatever's in the woods. I don't know. I don't really see which direction they go, but it's kind of on the edge of a wood line, and it seems like they like to go up and then backwards and into the woods. So there's probably just some good wild stuff out there that they're finding. I guess they usually forage pretty close. It's usually within about a quarter mile of the hive.
Right. Yeah, they don't want to get too far from home.
Yeah, but it was definitely interesting to kind of get into the inner workings of some of these larger hives that I had, and just kind of look at how they're conducting their work and what they're doing, and all the different types of kind of jobs that everyone has. And it just kind of helped bring a new angle into thinking about things, and kind of drawing connecting some dots from human civilization and nature. And it also the song too was, at the time, we were definitely wanting to kind of find something that was a little bit more of like a dancey groove too. So it was I would see these bees doing they do these dances, and they are communicating different some different information about where food is at, and what distance or what direction and how far it is and stuff like that. And around the time that we were starting to write this was when I kind of learned about how to actually watch the dance, and you can kind of actually interpret what they're communicating. And so at the same time, while we were kind of wanting to write this dancey tune, I was like always imagining that the bees were kind of like dancing, like for real, like boogieing. So I like to
Right.
play that into it as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, just, yeah, inspiration everywhere. And you're right, bees do have that kind of organizational thing going down, and ants, right, too, like kind of have their thing happening. So I love
Yeah.
that. So that process that you were just describing sounds a little bit different than It's All Right, which I think came out of a jam session, right? So
Yeah,
would you say
correct.
those were kind of different in terms of their origin point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Honey was definitely much more of a we we wanted to write a song like that, and we found the resources and the means to do so. And It's All Right was definitely something that kind of uh, it was more like a really awesome accident. We just kind of stumbled into it. We were at the time we were kind of recording longer sessions of improv at our rehearsal space, and we would do kind of just longer jams and just record it and kind of go back and see if there was any magic in there. And uh, it was the it was the part of the song that kind of does like a stop and goes hallelujah, hallelujah. That kind of came out right out of the jam from the first time that we were ever messing around with it. And that just kind of what it struck me as something that was a little bit different, that stuck out. And it doesn't sound the way that I heard it in my head now from what I thought it was going to be, but it ended up just being kind of like a strong enough little hook that snagged me, and I was like, this is definitely worth kind of elaborating on. And through that, just kind of kept rolling with this like very laid back feeling, just kind of it's all right. Things are good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes there's accidents that are awesome, sometimes you're writing not the best songs, just kind of this theme just kind of laid in there on its own, kind of an all-encompassing thought.
Has that ever happened before? That kind of creation story for a song, or is this the first time that you all have really brought something out of a session like that?
I'd say, in general, like more often than not, our songs will come
Mhm.
out of us all kind of collaborating musically together, through jamming or improvising. We'll kind of find something cohesive about it. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it's magic. And we write one of our new favorite songs. It's all right, just out of one jam session. So,
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time just literally recording jam sessions on a cell phone. We just find that
right.
we find that little sweet spot in the room where the phone just picks it up. And it honestly, we joked about putting out like like a collection of songs that were recorded on the phone, because sometimes they sound better than some of the live mixes that come out
Mhm.
when we're multi-tracking. But yeah,
Yeah.
we oftentimes will do the kind of reverse engineering of songs when we write them, where we kind of like a lot. I personally enjoy doing it, I think, more than some of the other guys, but I like to go back through these long sessions and just listen and kind of look for small things or big vibes that we have in spots and try to create them into something that we can use live or into an entire song. And a lot of times what I like to do is listen to it over and over again and really just kind of immerse myself in the feeling that I'm getting from it, and then allow some form of concept or idea to kind of be drawn from the music that's there. So it's like
Mhm.
kind of taking a spark and then trying to create a big fire from it, basically.
There you go.
So where was Honey recorded? What studio?
Uh,
Did you do it at home? Was it a home
we
studio?
we did it in our own rehearsal space.
Nice.
Um, we have a spot that we kind of converted into kind of a half studio, half rehearsal space, kind of half storage unit almost for all of our accumulated music gear that we've built up over the years.
Does it
Yeah.
have a
But
name?
um, we've tried to call it something else so many times, but it always ends up being the jam spot is what it always ends up being. But it's in an old lumber yard, so we tried to call it like the woodshed for a while.
It
But
just didn't hang right.
yeah,
All right.
but
So
it worked out pretty good though. Honestly, we did a lot of just kind of like sound absorption things, and both in the past, Kevin and I had been employed at different companies that move furniture and or like move things with trucks and whatnot. So we had access to an abundance of moving pads, and so we used a lot of moving blankets to absorb a lot of the sound and kind of create an environment that we could control
Mhm.
and be able to use. And honestly, it uh, to me it doesn't sound any different than a $10,000 a day studio. It's
I
pretty
mean,
close.
I mean, maybe for some stuff you need that, but I don't think most people need the $10,000 studio.
Yeah,
And for
a lot of what we're doing is we're kind of trying to eliminate the presence of the space in the sound and then going back in and actually constructing a space using reverbs and different
Mhm.
approaches with audio. But those other spaces a lot of times to my understanding, you're really paying for the sound of the instruments in that particular space.
Mhm.
So it's got to be a pretty good one for it to be worth the money, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Right,
for
there
sure.
you go. So then the honey was in July. In October you released Rainbow Lightning. Let's talk a little bit about it, but also were they recorded together, or are you recording each one separately, working on it, releasing it?
we recorded, yeah, all the songs on the album and all the singles in just about a month's time with just the same drum setup and the same drum mics. So that is something that we wanted to keep cohesive for all the tracks on all the singles that are on the album and all the songs on the album. We borrowed some microphones from a friend of ours in Indianapolis, John Babcock, and got the drum set up. And yeah, I think we recorded all the songs in a little less than a month, just in through multiple sessions. And then once we had the drums done, we went in and tackled one song at a time by re-recording all the instruments on top of it.
All right. So what's the story behind Rainbow Lightning?
Rainbow Lightning is a Jake Evett song. He is our was came in on keyboards I think in early 2021. Has been such a great addition to the band. We were a three-piece for a long time, and Jake's a great keyboard player. I was playing bass and keyboards kind of simultaneously, which was a lot of fun. But I think we wanted to get to the point where we could do a lot more with our instruments, and bringing him in on keyboards was a great asset to the band. And also, he's a great songwriter. I think Rainbow Lightning was the second song he wrote, like for a Dizgo song, and we knew it was a hit right off the bat.
Yeah, the I don't know if you hadn't talked to Jake last time about this song, I could give you just a little peek into what the song is about. Oh, I think I lost your audio.
Oh, that'd be great if you could do that. That'd be awesome. I think he maybe talked about it a little bit, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too.
Okay. Yeah, essentially, we were headed to the festival Secret Dreams. That was at Legend Valley, and that was the first year that festival had happened. And we had been set up with a late night set there. I think we were supposed to play like 2:30 to like 4 a.m.
Mhm.
Essentially closing down, the festival on a Saturday night. And we on the way over there, we were driving our old van, and we got about halfway there, so and the transmission blew on it, and we luckily made it to like a gas station. We rolled in, and we were kind of stuck there, and we didn't really leave with a bunch of extra time, so we just immediately were facing the idea that we possibly weren't going to be able to play, which sucked because it was going to be one of our larger late night festival sets of the year, and we kind of thought it was going to be a really good one for us. So we were kind of started searching around for if there's anybody at the festival that happened to have a large vehicle with a tow package on it that could possibly save us, and we struck out multiple times, And then finally, like after an hour and a half or so of searching, one of our good buddies was with somebody that we didn't know, and but this other guy had heard of the band Dizgo, and he had just bought a new truck a couple days beforehand, and he got a tow package put on it. And so this stranger that didn't know us allowed Jake to, because Jake was already at the festival, and Kevin, myself, and Eric were on our way over there. But so this guy let Jake borrow his brand new truck. I think it had like 1,500 miles on it. It was like brand spanking new. And he let us borrow this truck, and he came and picked us up, and we rolled in there right in the nick of time. And it just, so what happened was the Main Squeeze was playing on that stage before us, and there had been these terrible storms throughout the day there. And because of all these storms, most of the music got canceled for the day, and there was only a few DJs that got to play, and then the Main Squeeze was able to play, and then the weather had cleared for Dizgo to be able to play. So everybody was super hungry for music, and essentially the Main Squeeze had to push everything back super late because of the weather, and a bunch of the lights had been damaged on the stage from rain and like all these different things. So through this series of terrible storms that had rolled through there, it pushed back the schedule a few hours, to the point where we got there just in the nick of time to just start throwing our stuff on stage. And while we were driving over there, this was, when the sun was going down, as those storms passed over, there was a massive double rainbow that went over all of Legend Valley. And it was at a really crucial time of day where the sun was setting. It looked absolutely beautiful. So tons of people were taking photos of this, and lots of professional photographers that were there were also capturing this image. And there was this just brilliant, huge lightning bolt that struck across the entire double rainbow laterally like this. And this was captured by like quite a few people, and which was kind of like insane that this instant of a moment that was, kind of special, was captured by so many people. And so this whole like this phrase of like rainbow lightning kind of like just became, it was on our radar now, because we saw the images and we're like, wow, that's crazy. And Jake had kind of liked the idea of tying in just the kind of sheer luck that we had, that we finally found this one person that was willing to give up their car and get us there just in the nick of time. And the schedule got shifted just in the nick of time for us to get there. And then we ended up having probably one of the most impactful sets that we had for that entire year. And it kind of was a little bit of like a trajectory point for us. We noticed that after Secret Dreams, we just had a lot more attention all over the Midwest, and especially out east. And it was just a very important thing that we did get to play that, and it was such a positive thing. And it was kind of a what were the chances of like multiple things that were happening around this event, and that Jake kind of ran with that what were the chances kind of serendipitous like kind of situation, and decided to call it the song Rainbow Lightning.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's a story.
that is a great story. And actually, that you mentioned, that may have kicked off some things or was just at a pivotal moment. I had been following your tour schedule, and yeah, I mean, this fall y'all were in Connecticut. I mean, you're out here again too, but in Denver. But yeah, it seemed like you really had expanded, like geographically, where y'all were playing. Is that true in terms of like the last 6 months or so?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah, we
definitely.
played a lot of new markets, definitely more new markets than we'd ever done this past year with the booking agent we had. We said we were eager to just start, putting seeds in places we'd never played before and trying to grow as much as we can. And we did exactly that. And we're going to keep at it next year.
New van? What's the wheels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we got a much nicer van. It was an upgrade.
It has heat and air conditioning. So
Yeah.
that's something we hadn't had in the past.
Yeah,
So you're ending back up in Colorado at the end of January.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Colorado.
go ahead, Kev.
Oh, yeah, I think one of the most exciting things on our radar is the Colorado run that we're doing in late January. We're headlining 4 big rooms
Yes.
with the Aggie Theater in Fort Collins, to the Fox Theater in Boulder, Cervantes in Denver, and what is it, 10 Mile Music Hall in Frisco, 4 nights
So
in a row,
yeah,
headlining all 4 shows. So
yeah.
it's really
Or
exciting for us. It's a really big opportunity that we're looking forward to.
And you're
yeah,
going to have 3420 out of 3 of the shows
Yeah.
Correct.
with you,
Yes.
and then Bear Fuzz and Riding Carpets are going to be with
Yeah.
you at Cervantes, from what I
Yep. That's
believe.
right.
Yeah, Bear Fuzz are some of our friends from the Midwest area. So I think this will be an exciting thing for them as well to get to kind of pair up with
Mhm.
some other Midwest homies out in the mountains. So
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, those are, I mean, like you said, they're fantastic rooms. And each of them, even though, they're all relatively close to each other, they're almost their own markets in a way, like you were mentioning. The scene in each of those cities is similar but unique. Just living out here, and kind of journeying around all the time. It's a great time of year to be playing out here too. People are out for skiing, and they're going to be stoked to see y'all.
yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
It'll be a little surreal. I remember just a few years ago, going out to when we were out. I went out there for like a trip that was not to play music, but just to go hang out, and we got to see some shows at the Fox, and then a little bit before that, we had seen Goose at the Aggie when we were kind of crossing paths with them out there, and it just seemed like then it did kind of feel like I was like, man, these rooms are a little bit down the road, but I mean, here they are. We're there, and that's really exciting and kind of gets us amped up to really put our best foot forward and kind of show what we're all about.
Yeah. How was your late night experience at New Conscious? I think that was in October. Interesting
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
place.
it was super late. I think
Yeah. It was definitely a late
like
experience.
till
It's
past
so
the
late,
sun.
it's early.
Yeah,
It
the
might
last
hold the record for the longest single set we've ever played,
Hmm.
because I think we played for like 3.5 hours, roughly.
Yeah.
And in the past we done some 3 hour sets, but I think that definitely pushed well past 3 hours and might have the record.
Yeah. I was there for the first hour and a half, and sometimes I make it till the 4 or 5 a.m., and sometimes I have to tap out a little early. But you all were crushing it. So that's great. I mean, you're definitely making that trajectory. And then you're going to be, I know this is a little ways away, but you're back with Dopapod again also in the spring, I think, in March. And you had played with them in the fall. So it sounds like that's a really good relationship too that you've built with them.
Yeah, we're actually doing a hometown show, like where I'm living is Bloomington, Indiana, and they're coming through the Bluebird, which is like the venue here, and it's been a little while since we've played here, so we're kind of trying to bring them as much support as possible and really make their show at the Bluebird really awesome, experience, and just kind of make it the biggest party that we can for all of us. But yeah, so we're super excited about it, and Eli from Dopapod is definitely Jake's like one of his biggest idols. He
Wow.
looks up to him and really loves what he's doing. So I think he's nerding out the hardest on how excited he is.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
we're all
some,
huge Dopapod fans, so we're excited
yeah,
about those.
they're fantastic, and hopefully some sit-ins and stuff, as well. That'd be great.
It would
Yeah,
be.
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you, what is Dizgo Presents Melt with Houseplant?
So this is our big headlining Indianapolis album release show coming up at the Vogue in February 3rd. So
Very
it's going to
nice.
be like a week after we get back from Colorado. We have the album release show, and yeah, we have Houseplant, a really really incredible band out of
Yeah,
Louisville.
we talked to him a few times. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
love them.
yeah. We've always since we played our first show with them in Louisville, we'd always talked about bringing them to Indianapolis, so we're finally making that happen.
Yeah,
And
they
Chalk
don't.
Dinosaur.
They are
Yeah.
road dogs, so that's cool that you're getting them out there to Indiana there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's set list. Who writes the set list?
We do it. We've been changing the form of how this actually goes on, but lately, as we've been doing all this album work, Kevo has been kind of busy on the computer with doing album like arrangements on the songs and stuff, and I've kind of taken over writing the set list. But it's usually Kev and I bouncing ideas back and forth on each other, and we've been trying to find a little bit more of like by reflecting on what's working, what's not, and trying to dial in our formulas for set lists a little bit more. There's just seems to be a few different recipes depending on what type of gig it is that tends to just do really well as far as just like I try to think of it as, if you're the perceiver, how do you comfortably move your body through an hour to 3 hours worth of time? How do you stay engaged but not over wear yourself out or overdo it on the ears, or have the right amount of musical elements involved at the right times, and then kind of end with the right energy, and starting with the right energy and stuff. So we've been kind of like focusing a little bit more on finding what are these things that when we reflect later and we say, man, that thing was just, or that moment in the show was amazing, or putting a cover a little bit earlier in the night was really effective this time. So essentially, yeah, I've been enjoying taking a little bit more time to kind of assess what formulas we have been doing and what could be better in the future. And then yeah, Kev usually kind of looks it over and kind of then maybe we'll go in and change some stuff, and then that'll lead me to another idea, and I change something and then he changes it, and then we're both like, okay, this is the one. So it's a little bit of tossing it back and forth, I think.
He's like the guy in Gladiator with the thumb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's me. Which way is it
Fantastic.
gonna
So
go?
you have certain songs that you think of as openers, closers, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And there's such an art to, writing set lists, about thinking of it as, a linear performance of ups and downs and different types of moments that you want to have in that story.
So what happens if somebody, you're on stage, you're doing your thing, can someone call an audible? Like how would that
Oh,
work?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, it happens all the time. Like,
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. So like how would that be communicated, or is it just more of kind of somebody makes that decision, goes right into it, and you're all kind of right there with it?
we
um,
we usually use
Pickle, yeah.
talk. Yeah, we use talkback microphones a lot of time. So it's usually like you get the first wave of the information through the music, but then like sometimes we kind of like look around and like we just use a little bit of talkback to confirm what direction we're heading, so we don't just like stumble all over ourselves or something. But yeah, we sometimes it seems like when we're in a jam or something might happen, and it like we start kind of playing certain elements of something else, and we all kind of our ears hear it, and it draws our attention to it, and it depends on, are we in a situation where do we have some flex time, or is this is there a hard cutoff at the end of the set, and so if we have the wiggle room, we all kind of like are like, okay, yeah, let's take the chance, let's just go into this. And sometimes it's like even going into like a cover that we've never played before or something, but we all kind of generally know how to play it or something.
Those are the
There-
best moments. Seeing a
Yeah.
live band, those are the best moments.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, they are risks,
Yeah.
so you have to kind of always be also learning how to properly take risks the right way too, because they are important.
Right on.
Yeah, they are. So what do you guys focus on when you're up there improvising?
It's all about listening, to the other players, is the most important thing. Having a good headspace and, not feeling too pressured to play everything the way you've done it in the past, just trying to get yourself in a headspace where you can branch out into different directions that you've never done it, that you've never been taking things before, but, in front of an audience, it's about finding that headspace.
Yeah. When I'm kind of uh, a lot of times whenever we jump off into a jam, a lot of times it's like guitar is kind of like on top. So as we are kind of engaging with what Kev is talking about there, I try to wiggle my way into something that I can find that is somewhat repetitive, but
Mhm.
enough repetitive that I can start throwing variations in. And while in the first stages of this, I'm trying to plan out, okay, is this an idea that I can continue to build into multiple tiers?
Mhm.
And then what are those tiers going to generally consist of? I don't usually think of like, okay, what notes am I going to be playing, but am I going to go into more of like is the next stage kind of a funky wah kind of oriented thing, or is this going to go into like a lead distortion kind of like
Mhm.
soaring lead stuff? And so a lot of times as we start an idea, there will be times that like I will kind of veer us away from something because I don't feel enough potential energy behind it to continue with it. And so we'll just kind of meander onto some other topic and then try to evolve that and then go. And then other times we pick things that are hard to evolve and grow, to just challenge yourself to not do everything that's easy all the time. And that's definitely that can be challenging at times, but yeah, I try to premeditate a little bit as we're getting into those first few steps of an improv, and see, okay, can I bring this up to a level of excitement over the amount of time that we have kind of generally allotted here, and then also is it gonna allow for a path back to back to the chorus or whatever we are going to be ending on.
Yeah.
We're
That
into a cover you don't know.
Exactly.
is gonna say.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
When you mention that repetition, I think about this constantly now because I had read a blog post a couple years ago. It's actually based on some classical music, but they brought funk into it. How repetition will take dissonance and, of course, create something out of it that a listener can really kind of get behind and want to stick with. And that as a technique is so important. And the more I go to shows, I'm always listening for that now. But
Mhm.
what amazes me is that you all are doing that in real time as you're playing. We're catching it on the other side. But I just wonder, over time, the more shows you play, does that get easier, or is there something else happening? Is it more you're trusting your instincts in a different way? Is it just simply experience, like being up there more and more to kind of give you that trust that, like, yeah, we can get into it and get out of it? I'm super curious about that.
I mean, I'd say that for me personally, I feel like it tends to be when we're okay, when we're like doing a run of shows that has a lot like many consecutive shows in a row. It tends to be that the bond between the people you're spending close proximity time with, in close proximity to these people, you're going through sound checks, you're going through many conversations, and we're playing together. It To me it seems like it strengthens uh as we play more and more together in a row. So sometimes that flow that you're talking about may be a little bit rusty if it's been 2 weeks since, if we had a big break and then we're, coming back cold or something and hadn't been, rehearsing a bunch right before or something like that. So it seems like the experience, yeah, being up there together doing it is what generally, I guess, gives us the confidence and at the same time kind of the skills to be able to maneuver through those things in a way that it sounds like it's planned or something.
Yeah, that's the goal, is making it sound smooth. And yeah, I think really a combination of all the things that you mentioned, experience, but also just an understanding of how important the repetition is, and just feeling more and more comfortable being on a stage in front of a crowd. Being able to feel confident going into taking a risk is big.
Yeah. Yeah, that is huge. It's like we noticed that whenever the energy in the room, whether it be wherever it be, if the more chill the energy, the the better we are at flowing through our improvisation. It's like we a bunch of bands joke about how, like, the best jams you'll ever do are at practice when no one's around, and sometimes they're like, that's wherever you're really not worried about maybe risking something that could get everything off track, or where you're not too worried about, whether or not this is going to work. You're just willing to kind of throw yourself into this situation and just not be worried about how to get yourself out of it or if what's going to happen. And so kind of getting yourself more in tune with that behavior of, like, allowing yourself to fall into that carefree kind of place, but keeping it in the constructs that you're remembering you are performing, and you are you know you were hired to do the best job you can. So it's like, it's about just kind of balancing those things. But a lot of times we'll take time before certain shows too and say, tonight we're gonna let's take more risk, let's do, or in this particular song, let's really allow ourselves to jump off and kind of go in whatever direction we want. And maybe for that particular song, we'll say, like, we're not going to worry about going back to the head or the chorus or whatever it is. We're just going to allow it to just bleed into the next thing. And sometimes we can set ourselves up with situations that are a little bit more comfortable for us to be able to do that.
The infamous J.O. from Humphrey's set list. When they put J.O. after a song, it means jam out.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
So it can be any song at the time. Let me ask you, Kevin. You said you're tracking out the album. What goes into your choices for the singles?
So I think mainly, as far as like the songs that we decided to put out as singles, um, we d- we made those decisions as a group. What we thought were our strongest songs that can stand alone as a single. As far as we released Honey, we released Rainbow Lightning as a single, we released It's All Right as a single, and the fourth and final single that we're releasing is Help Is on the Way, and that one's coming out next Friday. And yeah, so we had gone back and forth, and we came to a mutual consensus of we want to release some singles like once every month or two leading up to our album release to help hype it up and everything like that. And yeah, I think they all stand very strongly on their own. And as far as the work that I'm doing individually to track them out, I'm using input from all the other band members, but we had already decided what the singles were. As far as the tracking it out, I'm just going through all the different guitar takes and bass takes and keyboard takes, and just linearly listening and kind of putting a linear arrangement to making the final product
Do
on
you
a
feel like you
computer.
told a story?
Repeat that. Sorry.
Do you feel like you told a story with the tracks listing, the sequence?
Yeah. So it's definitely, yeah. And it's all, I'm just kind of like the master with the control of what all the individual musicians put on the plate, So, and I'll send out, different versions of guitar solos or key solo parts and say, here's the solo that I think we roll with. What do you guys think? So I'm still seeking input from everyone in the band, but most of it was done on my computer. But Jake Evitt also uses Ableton, and he was helping with some arrangement stuff as well.
Right. I wish we had B-side still. B-side was always the best song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will chime in one other thing too. As far as like picking these singles too, I think it kind of was somewhat of a coincidence that both of these things are true. But when we were looking at which ones to kind of put in this spotlight, we were also considering uh, giving the listeners somewhat of like a spread of our writing, in a sense that like Honey was kind of like a project that I thought was really strong and I felt really good about when we put it together. And then you have Rainbow Lightning, which was Jake's like first big song that he wrote with Dizgo. And he felt like that was one of the stronger things that we had prepared to put on this album. And then Help Is On The Way is a song that Kevin wrote and has felt very confident about what he feels about that song and giving it to the world. And so it was nice to kind of have just a song from each person, and you kind of get this like diverse spread of the writing of that comes from the group as a whole. So I thought that was a really good thing too, because it gives us also a chance to, when it gets put into that single spotlight, to kind of tell a little bit of the backing story and give some information and some thoughts from the person who created the idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess somewhat related, I know you all have been putting up a ton of soundboards on Nugs and Bandcamp as well.
hmm
Um, you've got probably most of your fall tour up there. Can you just share a little bit about Kevin? It seems like, from what I know, are you handling most of that? Are you kind of the source for uploading those?
Yeah. I've been doing it for a while, and I've put a lot of hours into getting better at it. But and trying to get quick at it is kind of the name of the game there. You
Yeah.
know, we play a good show. We're like, it's always just the clock starts ticking. We want to get it out for our fans to be able to find online and listen to, like while it's relevant, while they're still excited about it. But yeah, so we put up we made a goal to put up every show. Sometimes we'll run into like technical recording hiccups that make it not possible to do that. But for the most part, we've definitely put up the vast majority of the shows onto Nugs and Bandcamp. And that'll also play, it comes into our set list writing too, is, we want all of our sets to be different for the listener. I think that's something so special about the jam band scene is, and going out to see live music, because you don't know what to expect. You're going to expect something special at the show that you go to that's different than the set the band played the night before in a different city.
Are you saying we pay attention? It's so funny when we have this
Yeah,
conversation. I think
yeah,
about when, and spreadsheets and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, it's so appreciated, because it is something that's noticeable when that thought, that energy is behind what you're playing.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can turn around a soundboard, or I guess technically a multi-track recording. We record them on to a hard drive with an X32 rack, every live set that we play. And then I gotten to the point where I can, depending on certain technical things, I can get a set turned around in about like 1 to 2 hours. And then uploading can take, an additional hour to 2 hours, because you have to mix it, then you master it, then you export it, then you upload it. So it's kind of a 4-step thing.
You need a powerful computer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
what
definitely that helps.
Like
do you?
figuring out to like kind of divvy up the the tasks at hand, and this having this many shows in a row and getting not only audio that Kevin is handling, but now we're getting a lot of video from a lot of these sets too, which is a whole nother beast in its own. And Jake has taken more of that onto his plate, and so we kind of, with this big pile of content that is mounding up after every run that we do, we've had to become more efficient at figuring out how to distribute those tasks out to everybody and figure out who's has the strengths where, and who wants to do what, and who enjoys doing what. And so yeah, this last 6 months, and really that fall tour, the Rainbow Lightning tour, I think we have probably dialed in our kind of flow much better than we ever had before. And I think we're going to continue to just get better at it, and that'll give us more satisfaction out of it too, and feel more rewarded that we are figuring out how to accomplish these things in not only a timely manner, but doing a fairly good job at what we're doing. So that's something that's on our radar now for, like, how do we move forward, continuously improving this ever-ending project that is gonna be at our hands every time we go out to play shows. It's not just driving there and playing and doing all that. It's like it's a whole project after we get done too.
You got to feed the monster.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's right.
So do you find a disconnect with what you were thinking, feeling on stage while a performance is going on, and then listening back and uploading it, or you're real quick with it? So I guess you don't have a lot of space between when you play and listen.
Yeah, I think, sometimes quicker than others. But usually I'd say as far as like a disconnect, if anything, we get done playing a show and it happened really fast, and there's just so much going on during a live set that you just kind of question, like, what just happened? Was that good? Was that bad? I can't really tell. And more often than not, we'll listen back to the recording and be like, wow, I forgot about this part. This was awesome. The crowd was really into it. It all just kind of gets meshed together in your head, and you're unsure what happened sometimes after a crazy set. And
Mhm.
listening back, it usually sounds better than you may have thought it did during the time.
Yeah, it usually does lean in that direction. I've noticed that, like, in the last couple years, really, we hardly have shows that you walk off stage saying, "Man, that was awesome," and then you listen back and you're like, "Wow, that's not that awesome." It's usually not that way. Now it's usually, if anything, we're like,
Yeah.
question whether or not it was good, or because sometimes the mix that you have in your ears or the sound of the room sometimes it can throw you off, or if something's really stressful leading up to it, you may be in a different headspace. But when we listen back, you kind of you remember that it's an entire unit of people working together, and we feed off each other's energy, and we're there to support each other, and that's why it ends up usually sounding better than what we believe.
Stressful, like your truck breaking down.
Yeah,
Right.
that's started.
There you go.
Yeah, that was crazy. But,
All right. You got anything, Amanda?
I think we covered a ton. I just really appreciate this. Has been such a great chat, and so cool to see where you're at now. I mean, not even a full year later, so much has been
Yeah,
happening for you all.
taken off
It's
there.
pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I was going to make it. This was just going to be a catch up, but God, we've gone 40, almost 50 minutes.
I
So
really
oh wow.
appreciate
let me stop this and we'll talk.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.